السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم اللعين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد من محمد. يا اخواني واخواتي، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear brothers and sisters, may the peace of Allah be upon you, inshallah, God willing. So, we continue with the chapter 3 of the book La foi et la force. So, the faith and the strength, and in Arabic, Al-Iman wal-Quwwa. This is the title of this book on martial art of Silat in Banten area of Indonesia. So there is specific things regarding the region of Banten, which is located in West Java Island, and also some general indication. And I'm more interested by the general indication, not only of Banten, but to the Java Island or West Java, because they share common heritage in terms of martial art culture. There is different styles, different way of studying and deriving from the same root, which is what is important. So diversity with the same trunk is something interesting in studies. So cultural specificities of initiation, of ritual initiation, ritual martial initiation in Banten. So Bantenese martial initiation rituals and their cultural specificities. So the religious aspect of the initiation. So spirit, protecting spirit of ancestor and intermediary with God, which is in Arabic characterized with the word shafa', which is an intermediate way, maybe of a prophet advocating for a believer or a practitioner of a religion in front of God, and also it can be made by different individuals. It depends from the beliefs of everyone and the relation which everyone. So for example, there is a kind of intermediation even in this world. Some stories of women saving some dogs and having their bad deeds removed. It exists. So it exists in this world in some ways of understanding. It varies, it depends from the school of thought, it depends from the individual and the comprehension of everyone. فاهم بالعربية. But there is this kind of concept in Islam. So some people accept it completely, some people deny it completely, and we have the middle of both ground. So there is legitimacy to at least study the concept, because it has some Islamic Abrahamic roots. Even some hardcore adherent of certain interpretation of Islam will deny it completely. So different school. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا مرحبا بكم. So the singularity of the Bantenese culture is notably linked to the development of some practical, some religious practice which integrate plural version of Islam, mystical currents, and complex ritual of animist orientation. So there is like a substrate of the ancient belief mixed with the new belief, and this is the case in any culture, even from the Islamic point of view, there is some remnant of al-jahiliyyah, the time of ignorance, literally, which were redirected in the presence of the new faith of Islam, which is in fact the continuation of al-Islam al-Hanif from Khalilullah Ibrahim alayhi salam. So there is this kind of link with the past and the mix with a reformative religion, the apex and the last religion, which is Islam. So it is quite normal that some element, maybe against sometimes the core belief of religion, and sometimes also complementary. So it is not the correct course to curse every kind of remnant of the past, because there is some redirection of ancient energy on and also pivotal expression of humanity, which you can redirect in the service of faith like Islam or Christianity or whatever. So there is, and you have this in all parts of the world that were blessed with Islam. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. أخي العزيز, مرحبا. So, in the 15th and 16th centuries, the role of Islam was expanding, and the relation with Mecca gained progressively in intensity. But the Islamization of the region of Banten was slow and late. So, regarding Banten, it was slow. It was a slow and late process. It was not evident as some other part maybe of the Malay world, like Malacca, actual Malaysia, and also Sumatra, and maybe even more other region of West Java. So the Muslim missionaries were controlled in Banten by the European. So in fact, the European imposed some harsh politic against Muslim missionary in the area of Batavia and Banten. And for those who know the story of Indonesia, there is a huge amount of Yemeni people in Indonesia. And during the time in the rule of the Hollandese, they were discriminated. So they couldn't exerce some office, and they were strictly subject to control from the state. And this is the case of some Muslim in France, even myself included. So in general, Muslims with some Arabic roots are feared by European nation, because most of the time they have some culture insight link with the tradition, and it's a lever of power for a colonial entity. So they have like an automatism to fight this kind of individual and restrict them. And that limited Islamization of the rice plain area of the inside and South Bantenese until the 19th century. So until recently, until maybe the end of colonization, it was European refrain the Islamization of this part of the island of Java. And even in the 20th century. So in fact, this is after the intensification of Islamization appeared with the seas of colonial presence. And more Islam and Islam, when introduced, was in contact with a society politically structured. So its penetration needed some important local adaptations. So when you have a strong structure, a strong tradition, you have to make some kind of compromise to enter the house. You cannot enter the house of somebody and putting your foot in his table like that. So there is some politics involved, and it is a human process. Like there is some, like witness, for example, the cult of the Islamic sense, and in fact, sense of Islamization, and you have to learn this concept. In the history of the Islamization of Indonesia, you have the story of the Wali Songo. The Wali Songo. Wali Songo is like 9 or 10 cents. So in fact, awliya. And when I shared sometimes with the master of Silat, Kong Sesep, Arif Rahman, identify directly my first name, Wa'il, with the link with Wali. He asked me the question if it was derived from the word Wali, and this is the same root. Awal, Wa'il, Wali, Awliya is the same root. Ta'wil, first interpretation of Quran, for example. This is return to the first sense, and you have also an idea with the wa of also refuge. And you have, even in Japanese, when I show some book regarding Filipino martial arts, you have a school which is called Wado Ryu. Wado mean the way of the bird of peace. If yes, peace. This the peace, and the symbol is a column, a dove. And so Wa'il mean also the refuge. So there is some very important power in this word. It's linked to the first thing, first barrier. Wa'il, also a refuge to God. In Sanskrit, it's linked to the word to go also. And even in French, for example, va, aller, the word, the verb aller, to go, in imperative is va. So there is some strong link in Indo-Persian also languages with the idea of refuge, with the idea of distance, of protection, and also of return to God. So the Wali Songo are 9 cents from different backgrounds, some with Chinese ethnicities, some with all Muslims, some with Arabic ethnicities, some with Iranian ethnicities, from Al-Kubrawiya, so from some well-known tariqas, maybe from mixed Kubrawiya, Qadiriya, also even some maybe from Shia or pro-Shia sense and stuff like that. So there is a huge influence on, and they are regarded as the Islamizator of the island, and highly regarded in terms of religion and also of martial art culture and stuff like that, various knowledge. Ilmu, which is derived ilmu in Bahasa, which is derived from ilm, al-ilmu, ilmun, which means science. So, like is witnessing the cult of the saint Islamizator, so the Wali Songo, one more time, remember this formula, and different esoterical practices, like the debus, so the concept of invulnerability, which is in fact concept of strengthening the body against the urge of being hurt by a blade or fire and stuff like that. So this is common thing in ancient culture, traditional culture. You have some defiance to the harm, maybe with a blade, maybe with fire and stuff like that. So it calls debus. And local mystical Islamic hikmah. So hikmah is a Quranic term. It's found in the Quran, and those who are bestowed hikmah have a huge benefit from the Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So hikmah is not something which is an invention of the Sufi or the esoteric Shia or stuff like that. It is a part of Islam. You like it or not, you are interested or not, it is a part of Islam. If your Islam is only growing a bird and scratching your part before making wudu, it's your problem. It's not the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed his religion. So if you are a limited man or woman, it is your problem. But there is more opening in the religion of Allah, perfect religion for mankind and jinn. So the cult of Islamic Catholicent of Banten. So in the difference with some historical study or some so-called Islamical study that claims that Banten was conquered by force, like in fact the colonial force of Hollandaise tried to do in the past during their 300 more years of colonization. The popular culture and recall of the event in Banten speaks of a pacifical Islamization of this part of Indonesia by spontaneous reversion to Islam. Interesting. By this version, Islam as a religion had seduced the Bantenese because it permits them to make some miracles and to acquire some supernatural powers. It is called luar biasa. Luar biasa. most superior of that they had access with their local religious practice of the past. Very interesting. So even from the point of view of all kind of mystics of the area, Islam was an upgrade from their original culture they gained in science. And the way they developed in conjunction with Islam, their martial art is a proof of that. The articulation of Islam, even the way it is written, is in Arabic language, all these small things were subliminized the way of interacting on daily basis, even in the martial art field. So it is also mentioned that Hasanuddin, the son of the saint Sunan Gunung Jati, so for those who want reference about the Sunan Gunung Jati, can see the book L'islamisation à Banten à partir du XVIe siècle, réseau de confréries et initiation d'origine extra-locale. So this is a book, L'islamisation de Banten à partir du XVIe siècle, réseau de confréries et initiation d'origine extra-locale. Donc en fait, in fact, there is some initiator of a movement from external part of Banten that come here from abroad, from even other country, and we contributed to the emancipation and cultural upgrade of the Bantenese population. So it is mentioned that Hasanuddin, son of the saint Sunan Gunung Jati, so maybe one of the Wali Songo, used for the diffusion of Islam some already popular practices like cockfighting, so chicken fighting, and some invulnerability demonstration. And so in one of this recall, it is mentioned that Hasanuddin was defiant with his fighting chicken of one of the king of the Hindu-Buddhist Pajajaran, which was named Prabhu Pukuk Umun. And this one created a fighting chicken of steel. So metal, steel, and silver, and make him enter in the possession of a jinn which is an entity and creation of Allah, which are mentioned in the Sunnah, like and also the Quran. And so Hasanuddin made a cock fighting chicken of nur, of light, and he made him possessed by an angel, Malaika. So the fighting bird of Hasanuddin won the fight, and so Pukukuman and his court were forced to retire in the land of South Banten. So they lost ground, in fact. And where there is a legend that states that the descendants are known today in the ethnical term of Badwi, Urong Kanekes, or Rawayan. So there is three names: Badwi, Urong Kanekes, or Rawayan. So this is the reference of this is récit populaire, so popular stories recalled by the historian Muhammad Hudayri, and the book is called Tasbih Dan Golok, which means le chapelet et la machette. So it's like Tasbih is this thing, and machete, obviously, this thing. Golok is this thing. So this is a machete. And this story also mentions that Gunung Jati and Hassan ad-Din had the ability to have communication between them by the thinking, like some telepathic skills. And that this is by, with the help of esoterical practice, which are called Kanuragan, that transmitted by his father, that Hassan ad-Din had the opportunity to Islamize the Bantenese south. And so from this era, you have the mausoleums of the great Islamizators of Java, so the Wali Songo. So the political power and the religious authority being most of the time linked, the cult of the deceased sovereign of the past in Java tend to be merged with the cult of the saints. So in Java and Banten, the saints are individuals which, by their gifts and virtues from a spiritual journey, had developed some supernatural faculties, a power which was concentrated in their being, and now corresponding to the local belief are still available in their sepulture, so the place which they are buried. It is designed by the generic term karamat. Karamat is Arabic term karamat, same root of karim, for example. Karamat. For the Levantine audience, Karmalek, for example. which is the same root, still used in the Arabic word. So from the Arabic karamat, miracle, this is also written here. So the big mosque of Banten was like this, sanctified by the tombs, sacred tombs of the sultans. So another Arabic term for king. And all the city and his suburbs were to by various individual karamat, so miracle or bounties, like the one of Maulana Yusuf, Pangeran Mas or Pangeran Astapati. So from the 17th century, their specific place of burial were taken as object of pilgrimage. So for those who don't know, it is interesting that the word object is used here because, in fact, in Arabic, al-hajj is like an objective. So it is used a pilgrimage, but in fact, al-hajj, the verb, ما تحتاج, what do you need? الحاجة, like a tool, like an object. And that translate also pilgrimage by ziyara, which mean in fact visit something. So the Arabic language is extra rich. This is a language of 12 millions of words. No language can compare to the richness of Arabic. So the pilgrimage are made by the Bantenese nobility. It's interesting. And this is also in the 17th century that was born a literature on the deliberation of the Council of the Nine Cents. So the 9 cents, which are here called, and it is written here, the Wali Songo. So men of religion, which are legendary, and to which it is attributed the first Islamization of Java. So huge task. Even today, this cult or this showing of respect take a place, a particularly interesting place in the way Islam in Java is practiced, and these tombs are highly frequented by individuals and collectivity. So it is to each Islam is a part there are some place where you found some important people, scholars, pioneers in the path in this geographical or that part of the world. So it is human behavior. There is not with no when there is not exaggeration. Why not? Why not? Why not being inspired by some good characters which are near to you in their place of rest? So, in the first case, the war, so the pilgrims go to this tombs before a marriage or in the 7th month of pregnancy, for having some kind of reliefs or maybe ilham, ilham, sorry, ilham, some kind of inspiration, or hilm also because some kind of revelation. So it's like an istikhara. So to make some information manifest in hope. So sometimes you do something to have some answers from your Lord. You don't know how to do, so you make some little rituals. So maybe some people use the Quran, open a page, put their finger, whatever, and read the verse and took it as a way of understanding or guiding their path. So it is things that are exist, not concern everyone. Not everyone do this, but there is some expectation of having some khair at the end. So it is a process which is known in Islam. It is valid or not, it's another question. It is not the aim of this video. So there is also a certain part like Banten Gerong where some people make also pilgrimage for some business and stuff like that. So there is a different way. Some and also there is some collective visits also for the annual commemoration of the purification of villages, which is Bersi Desa, or in the occasion of the new Islamic year, which is called Lebaran. So the big sense of this is an interesting part. The big sense of Java are almost all considered to be from to be stranger in their origin. Most of the time from Middle East. So the scent of Banten, the Walisongo, the 9 cents, are all considered as being stranger and not from Indonesia, and most often from Middle East, also from Champa. So Champa, for those who don't know, is ancient kingdom of Cambodia, which is Cambodia, or China. Like it is noted by Claude Guillot and Henri Chamberloir, with contrast with some numerous other Muslim countries, there is no existence in Java, or almost not, of saints who left this world as martyrs. So there is not this cult of martyr. And in contrary, those are considered like invincibles. So I don't know. Maybe it's fallacies from French commentators, because most of the time in France there is a problem in the area of learning. There is a lot of people which are not qualified to speak of anything, so they use their study as a terrain of developing the dominant ideology. So this is how it works in French. The father of bananas republics. Sadly, this is not something I like to do, but most of the time, sometimes I read some ignorant statement from French writers to abase to sell a certain French acceptable ideology. So it is rampant in academical work, sadly, in French language and in France in general. So even when you open, you see a serious program on history, stuff like that, there is always this smell of ideology, of debasing the opponent or the other. Voilà, c'est sens of humour, sens de l'humour. So this is some numerostic way to express themselves, but it shows a lack of confidence, and it's like backbeating, in fact. And in Islamic faith, it's like eating the flesh of your brother. So I don't respect their kind of behavior. We all know, for example, that Hang Tuah killed Hang Jebat, and these were two of the most knowledgeable and powerful fighter of the Malacca, which shares the same language as the Indonesian, and almost the same story. So even the Indonesian champion of the time was killed by Hang Tuah. Hang Jebat also killed numerous. So it is not an exact depiction or reflection of reality. Another important point. The Tariqat brotherhood. So Tariqat is a way of practicing spirituality in the Sufi denomination. Don't play any role in the control and the practice of the sun cult. Even some of the saints are well known to have been initiated by some brotherhood, some Sufi brotherhood or spiritual brotherhood. And even today, some masters of brotherhood I considered by being living saints. So it is not something that this page is not even closed. Maybe it is unfounded, maybe it is enthusiasm by the population, maybe it is true, I don't know. But it is the way it is preserved today, even today. Like Kai Asnawi of Karagin, which in the first half of the 20th century was master of the Qadiriyya and the Naqshbandiyya. So two different brotherhood in Banten. So apparently he was a master of two different order, namely the Qadiriyya and the Naqshbandiyya. So for those who don't know, all these two brotherhood have an origin in Iran. Al-Qadiriyya from Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, and Naqshbandiyya also from Iran. So two Sufi orders. So the Islamizator saint of the Bantenese region, Sunan Gunung Jati, was particularly linked to the practice of combat and invulnerability. So the practitioner of the Bantenese Silat make some pilgrimage, massive pilgrimage in his tomb for giving him his homage and to be beneficiaries of the forces, the strengths of this place of burial. This can permit them to reinforce their capacity in fight or increase their mastery of techniques in Panchak Silat. And more numerous schools claim a link in the silsila filiation of Sunan Gunung Jati. So he is regarded as an ancestor, as a transmitter of his heart, in fact. And this filiation is beneficial for them to give legitimation to the origin of the techniques transmitted. And the saint is quoted, or mention of the saint are made in the ritual, which is pre-required for the processes of transmission. When a master transmits his call to his best pupil, for example. So the central place of filiation appeared greatly when there is some ritual of intronization in Silat and in the beginning of the training sessions. And where the list of deceased master of the past is recited by the teacher when there is a collective prayer in the place of training. This aspect is also a characteristic of Sufi brotherhood, which the majority of the big school of Silat, Banteni Silat, are linked. So there is a link between Sufism, Sufi brotherhood, and the school of Silat. Be it in a formal way, or be it in a more or less informal manner, which include in the list the name, in the list of affiliation, the name of brotherhood, Sufi brotherhood, or religious brotherhood masters. So it is quite important to note. So there is a link, an inherent link between the transmission of Silat, even the existence of Silat, and the way it was transmitted. So that's why this link is that strong that even in non-Muslim islands like Bali, for example, there is some kind of some school of Silat. I have some book from an Italian, which called Maurizio Maltese, which wrote book specifically on Silat. I have one here, but I have another specifically on the island of, it is in Italian, on the island of Bali, and the style come from the Muslim, don't come from the Hinduist or Buddhist. So even the Hinduist and Buddhist which practice Silat in Bali Island had this influence by the Muslims, and from, in fact, Java Island and stuff like that, and Java Barat, West Java. So it is quite interesting to note a direct link with Islam. Islam not only came in a way of superposition, another strat with only touch to religion alone in the region, but also it revolutionized the way of the martial way also. So it is quite interesting from people which are considered by being foreigners and not from the island. And people have no benefits to say that it recognizes a foreign influence, but it is, in fact, a solid statement which can be checked in numerous times, which give a lot of tawatur, a lot of credit, a lot of strongness. It is not a mere statement. It is something that is, from an objective point of view, a truth, which is quite interesting. Because one of the well-known point of island, like Philippines or like Indonesia or stuff like that, is that Icelanders are very prone to maintain, even when they take something from external, to protect it. People from islands have the nerves have the grip, have the grit to protect a tradition, to protect the land, to protect what counts for them at all cost. And this is not the case. And you have also this kind of behavior even in Japan, which is an archipelago also, which is linked, in fact, with Indonesia, Philippines, and Japan. This is the three big archipelago states of the Chinese Sea. And so they share in common this particularity of preserving martial tradition and culture. It is not easily diluted like in the continental Asia, which martial arts sometimes become a trend for millenaries, and in a blink of an eye of a colonization with complex, it is removed for more practical way of making war. But normally, the martial arts, the martial education is a part of the heritage of the individual. And removing it is like an amputation of the self. So big respect to the islander and their preservation of shows that counts in the origin of man until the end of this world. اللهم صل على محمد ومحمد. التمس الدعاء. الله معكم. إلى اللقاء. And we will continue, inshallah, with some relevant quote of this interesting book. All the book is not interesting, but if you speak French, if you have the nerve to read it, it is an important work. It is a little bit strange in its culture. Sometimes it speaks of political association and stuff like that, like sociology. But there is some very interesting, there is même some techniques inside, and some lexical of good use for a Silat practitioner. So Jurus Dasar, elementary forms, stuff like that. This is some vocabulary you're gonna find if you study Silat one day, and I advise you to do so in a way or another, but to have an idea and to not miss something that can suit you with its spiritual aspect and also technical direct application in the term of combat. This is one of the most efficient martial art. Even I'm from another background.